Chelsea Handler, Little Big B.
I say I don't want to be a mother, but I wouldn't mind being like a divorced dad, you know? I could crush that role, coming in hot at like 50% all the time.
Friday, November 3rd, Arlene Schnitzer Hall. On sale now at Portland5.com. Chelsea Handler, live.
Or a stepfather. That's another role I would crush.
Produced by Live Nation.
We're almost at that time of year when we have to change our clocks again. This Sunday, time falls back an hour, marking the end of daylight saving time until March. And if you're wondering why, because didn't we all agree to do away with this last year when lawmakers passed the Sunshine Protection Act, making daylight saving time permanent? You're not wrong, but also it's complicated. So today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with science journalist Aaron Ross about what's going on with all that, as well as the history of how daylight saving time came to be in the first place. Because I think we've all heard the farmer's theory, but is that actually correct? Also, Erin is going to share why she thinks making daylight saving time permanent might not be the move. And just to note that her cat Willow and dog Percy really wanted to be part of the interview, so you'll be hearing from both of them as well. It's Monday, October 30th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Willow and Percy, welcome to the show. I can't wait to hear what they have to say about daylight savings.
Oh, I'm sure they have strong opinions all around.
Okay, so...
No, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I don't know if you just heard that mic thud, but that was literally the cat walking across the screen for funsies.
Okay.
So, Erin, aren't we supposed to be done with time changes?
Yeah, so Oregon passed this bill, right, that would move us to permanent daylight savings time, but it was contingent on two things. It was contingent on Washington and California being on board so that we're not, out of step with everybody else on our side of the coast, and also Congress had to pass a bill approving it, and so Washington is on board with permanent DST, and California got a measure on the ballot, but voters rejected it.
Why?
You'd have to ask California.
Is it because they're just like, the sun, we got it. We have a lot of it.
We have so much sun. I'm jealous of all their sun. Then the Senate actually introduces permanent DST bills or permanent standard time bills all the time. And last year, one even passed, but they usually introduce it around the end of the legislative season, so they have never had one get voted on by the House. And I don't know if they ever will. I think it's just a thing that they do for some, points.
Well, another option I've heard thrown around is permanent standard time. So what's the difference between permanent standard time and permanent daylight savings time?
Yeah, well, first of all, even though it makes more sense to be daylight savings time, it's not. It's just daylight saving time, just a singular. It's like...
Oh, yeah, there's no S, right?
Yeah, it's the reverse attorneys general. Yeah.
Okay, you know what's so funny is Julia told me this, and I refused to listen to her. I was like, I'm sorry, but that sounds dumb coming out of my mouth, and I'm not going to say that.
It sounds weird. It does sound weird. And no, it has nothing to do with farmers, and it never did.
I thought it was about farmers.
I know. That's what everybody thinks. Apparently, I was looking up some historical things, and apparently farmers hated it because it made it harder to get their food to the market on time by changing what time the market opened.
Oh, so they don't like it.
No, or at least old time. I don't know what farmers today. Everything's so automated. But yeah, we actually, it was first proposed by Ben Franklin. Goodbye, dog.
Oh my God, I love Percy's oh no, we're talking about Ben Franklin.
She's like,
no, thank you.
I hate that guy.
That dude, no.
So he thought that if we got up earlier in the summer, we'd burn less candles. So that was his idea.
Wait, is that why we have daylight savings time?
No, but that was the first person to suggest it.
Okay.
So it was first introduced by Germany in World War I as an energy saving measure. And honestly, I'm not really sure how it saves energy, but that is what Germany did. And then the US followed in 1918. But then as soon as the war was done, they repealed it. So then we didn't have it again. But then World War II happened, and we instituted what was called wartime, which was the same concept, daylight saving time, apparently to save energy. And then wartime ended, and some people went back and some people didn't. And everybody changed time on different weeks and even different cities in the same state. So in 1966, Congress passed the Uniform Time Act, and that's what set up this system that we have today where we all switch together, except for Arizona and Hawaii.
Oh, so we have daylight savings times because of Hitler?
Yeah, blame Hitler.
Oh my God.
It makes sense, right?
Because it sucks so hard.
It does. It really does. The time change is the worst. So daylight savings time is what we have. Daylight saving time. I did it too. Daylight saving time
sorry.
is what we have in the summertime. And it's like, I think that people get like easily confused because people assume that like daylight saving time is in the winter because in the winter we need more daylight, right?
But that's just regular time?
Yeah, that's standard time. So
Okay.
going to permanent daylight saving time would be keeping the schedule that we have like right at this moment all year round. And then permanent standard time would be keeping the schedule that we have in the winter all year round.
See, I'm a proponent of keeping the schedule we have now because we would have longer evenings with the sun both for summer and the winter. Because I feel like when we fall back, then it's like, oh, great, it's 4 o'clock, time to go to bed, you know?
Right, absolutely. And that's definitely a big point. But then like on the flip side of that, if you have this time all year round, you're not going to see the sun until after you're already at work in the mornings.
Cool, I don't care.
You don't care.
Okay.
Oh, those are fighting words.
Okay.
I'm a hardcore fallback person. I love to fall back. I hate springing forward. I am all about that extra morning sun and as nice as light after work is, I'm not a big fan of it.
What?
Yeah.
You don't like a long summer night?
Oh, I love a long summer night, but
After work? You don't want to I love to walk my dog. You don't want to walk Percy?
I mean, I want it, but not at the sacrifice of morning light. Yeah.
That's because you're a morning person, aren't you, Erin?
No.
You're one of those disgusting morning people.
No, that's why I want morning light, because it wakes you up in the morning.
Get a light. Get one of those sunlight. You know what I mean?
I have
sunlight.
one. I have
All right.
one, and I sleep with the windows open.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
guess you're doing everything you can. Well, thanks for explaining that. So a big push for making daylight saving time permanent, which is what we have right now,
Yeah.
was because of negative health effects of going back and forth an hour. I mean, it seems so silly. Like, is it really that bad? Like 1 hour?
It is. I mean, if you've ever traveled by plane, you know that jet lag is awful. And jet lag's not really from being in a plane. It's mostly from time change. So, like, it can take up to 2 weeks for our bodies to kind of recalibrate after each switch. And whether it's springing forward or falling back during the 2 weeks after, there are more car crashes and people report severe mood changes and brain fog. But the worst consequences come in the spring when we spring forward and lose that hour of sleep. The risk of heart attack and stroke actually goes up like dramatically.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, which is just wild to me.
You know, I feel like I'm just generally so sleep deprived that an hour just doesn't make a difference. Like, I'm miserable all year. And so it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. That's messed up. I mean, if it's causing heart attacks and strokes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think no matter which side of the debate you fall on, like, something's got to change. It's got to be permanent one way or the other. And now I'm going to try and letting the dog out. We'll see if this works.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, I'll give you a sec.
Hold.
I'll just play a little music while you do that.
Don't run away from me. Don't do this. You're going outside.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, Erin is going to tell us why making daylight saving time permanent could be a mistake.
What she does when it's time to go for a walk, she like goes to the door and barks and then runs away from the door when I try to let her out.
Oh, that's helpful.
Right?
We kind of talked about this a little bit, Erin, but I'm hearing if we could make the final call, you would stick with permanent standard time, and I would pick permanent daylight saving time.
Yeah.
Is that what we would do?
Yeah. I think that's about where we would be. Like, I want that extra hour of light in the morning. I'm not a big fan of like sending kids to school in the dark.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
They'll get used to it.
And I mean, like on the flip side, in like your defense, in defense of permanent DST, there's research that shows that extra hour of light in the evening actually means that there is like less crime. So it reduces crime because it's not dark out.
That's so sad that like our minds work like a fairy tale. Like we're just like, oh, we're gonna behave, but once the sun sets,
I know, right?
the knives come out. Like, what the hell, humanity?
Exactly. And it's like, it's kids versus crime. What you gonna choose?
Crime. Okay, so has anyone actually looked into this? Like the science behind it, like which one is better, or are we just always gonna just arm wrestle about it?
Yeah, so people actually have, and there's actually like a lot of research around it, and I think the story behind that
Sorry,
research.
did someone just hit your mic?
Yes, this is why I usually hide in the closet when I'm recording.
But you can't because your cat peed in the closet. Is this
Exactly.
Dude, these animals are ruining your life, Erin.
I mean, you have no idea. I love them, but you have no idea. Get pets. It'll be fun. Help with your depression. No.
Well, you're too busy to be depressed now. You're just
Yeah, well, speaking of depression,
Okay.
one of the things that we know about daylight saving time and like light in the morning is that getting sunlight in the morning when you first wake up is pretty crucial for handling seasonal depression.
Okay.
And one of the reasons that we know this, and I think it's pretty cool, is because we went to space. So, like, if you think about it, when we first went to space, whatever, we're up there for like 2 or 3 days at a time. Maybe you sleep, maybe you don't, maybe you're just like looking out the window, nobody cares. But then we build the ISS, and like suddenly people are spending months or even like an entire year in space. And the thing is, the ISS goes around Earth 16 times a day. So that means you have 16 sunrises and sunsets every 24 hours. Your circadian rhythm is just like
That's messed up.
it's just gone. So NASA made all these studies looking at light and sleep, trying to figure out like how can we make our astronauts not go insane, not having a day and a night. And what they found is that like getting blue light first thing in the morning suppresses melatonin, and like melatonin makes us sleepy. So that's why we like aren't supposed to use screens late at night, or like why our phones now have this like orange mode and nighttime mode. And the idea is that like that way you can make melatonin and fall asleep. So getting blue light early is a big part of waking up. And like if you don't get it, you don't always really wake up properly. So like there's a good chance that like you go to school in the dark or go to work in the dark and then stay in the dark and you spend the whole day like feeling like a zombie.
Can't you just have a blue light? I'm still fighting for my long summer evenings. Can't you just have a blue light, just shoot it in your face in the morning?
So like, I mean, theoretically, they even make like blue light sleep masks. But I think the really big thing for all of this, which like blew my mind when I realized it, like all of these arguments aside, is that we've actually tried this before.
When?
So in the 1970s, there was this big energy crisis, right? In like 1973. And so in January of 1974, Richard Nixon signs into effect this law that makes daylight savings time permanent.
Oh.
And the idea was that it would help save fuel. Again, I don't really understand how that works, but that's the idea. And everybody hated it. Everyone hated it. It was dark every morning. You went to work in the dark, and you often usually still were in the dark when you came home or close to it. So can I read you some headlines from like that January?
Sure. So you're basically saying we shouldn't, why are we doing this again? We hated it.
We hated it, and we didn't just hate it was really dangerous. Some of these headlines include Minneapolis, Minnesota School Board reports incidents of sexual assault higher on young children during the new weeks of daylight savings time.
Ugh.
And Virginia, morning accident, fractured skull. Enfield, Connecticut, woman killed. Student injured by bus. Los Angeles, one death publicly attributed to DST. Stop it, you oh my God, now the cat and dog are fighting, Jesus Christ. You're fine, you're fine, you're both fine. Oh my God. Okay, so this is like actually pretty tragic. The thing that kind of really triggered the switch was that in Florida, over the course of like those 28 days, 8 kids were struck and killed by cars while waiting for school in the dark. And it was so severe that schools across the country all pushed their start times back until they could like get to school during the daylight. And by the end of that year, by October, it was repealed and we were back to where we are with a time change.
Okay.
Yeah. So like with permanent standard time, our latest sunrise is 8 a.m. Our latest sunrise with permanent DST is 9 a.m. in Portland, and it wouldn't actually get light until 9:30. The start time for PPS middle schools is 8:40 a.m. So kids are getting on the bus at 8 a.m., sometimes 7:30. And if the sunrise isn't until 9 a.m., that's all happening in the dark.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
And then look at sunsets. Our earliest sunset with permanent standard is 4:36. It doesn't get dark until 5. Our earliest sunset with permanent DST is 5:36, dark at 6. So you only get that extra hour of light in the evening for like 3 weeks. Versus like you have from early November until mid-February, we would not have the sun come up before 8 a.m. So for that long, kids are commuting in the dark. And I think what the big question for me is like, because this has happened before, because it was a total disaster, why are we doing it again?
Right.
I thought this was kind of interesting, but like when you look at these bills that keep on getting introduced and who's lobbying for them, the group that wants permanent DST the most is golf courses, because they want people to get off work at 5 p.m. and go golf for an hour. And congressmen love golf. Like, Congress loves to golf. Politicians love golf. So they're taking all that big golf money and they want
The big golf.
permanent DST.
Big golf. Wait, did big golf get to Oregon and Washington? Why did we vote for it then?
I don't know. Maybe we're followers. Maybe we're just silly. Maybe we're genuinely like, I'm frustrated with the time change, or like, you know, we think about that extra hour when we get off work and we really want it. A lot of people wanted it when Nixon did it. People were pretty stoked about this idea of moving to permanent DST. But then they actually got it. And like the reality of like having it be dark until already like a half hour into your workday kind of sits in, and everybody hates it. And again, just like picture like sending your kid off, walking to the bus stop, crossing streets in the dark.
Well, I guess that's a good argument. You're changing my mind a little bit, Erin.
I'll take a little. I'll take a little. If that's all I can get, I'll take it. But I do get it. Like, I really want sunlight when I get off work too. And
That's all I want.
that's all I want. I don't know. I live for the summer. I'm a full sun plant. So
Well, thank you so much, Erin, for walking us through that, and also for wrangling all of your pets. This was like a Benny Hill sketch. You
It
know what I
was.
mean?
right now, Percy's laying on her back with her dog tags in her mouth, chewing on them. That's what's happening. And the cat's over here after having whacked the dog until she got off that corner of the couch. So, you know, this is literally my life.
Well, good luck with that, Erin.
Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.